I want to start with a question, a show of hands. How many of you watch the news either online or on television? Wow, great. As you know, when you're watching the news, there's always this barrier, isn't there? There's this barrier between you and the story that you're watching. And that barrier is the screen. Imagine that barrier is broken down and you can be transported to where that story is taking place. You can move around the environment. You can look up, you can look all around you. You can touch out what's in front of you. That's immersive journalism. It's about filming stories in a 360 environment and putting them in a virtual reality headset. And it's really powerful stuff. You can go anywhere. You can go to a refugee camp. You can march with protesters along the streets of New York. You can be at a police crime scene. Or if you want to, you could walk up the red carpet alongside George Clooney at a film premiere. Really important stories. But that's what's exciting. Now, I spent 10 years of my career as a television journalist. I was a reporter, I travelled all over the UK, I travelled all over the world telling stories. I love telling stories. And those stories were great. I got to see so much and tell so many amazing stories, from the missing canoeist who faked his own death and ended up in Panama, to following Obama on the campaign trail in the 2008 election. All of those were great stories, and I had company with me. I had a cameraman, sometimes a sound recordist, a lighting engineer, a satellite engineer, sometimes even a producer. And we were a great team telling those stories. And then I discovered this, my phone. By using my phone, it meant that I could get closer to stories. I could tell them in a more personalized way, and that was really exciting. It's called Mojo, mobile journalism. So I started practicing that. I started teaching my students that. And they went all over the world telling stories, using just their phones. But there was always this barrier, because we were always filming two-dimensionally with that screen as that barrier. Then I discovered this, a virtual reality headset. I put it on and I realized that I had been telling stories so wrong. It was so limited how I was telling stories. There was this whole world outside that could be explored through immersive storytelling. The standard reaction for anyone when they put on a virtual reality headset is wow. Their face lights up. Their eyes widen as they look around and they explore the story in a really different way. 1 in 10 may start to feel a little bit nauseous, but as technology improves, that number's reducing all the time. 360 immersive storytelling allows us to get closer to the subject. It allows us to create a more personalized story. It allows us to tell the story in a much deeper way, letting the audience look at the story themselves, letting the audience create the story that they want, instead of having me as a journalist writing a story, producing a story, and telling them how I want them to see the story. It's completely different. It changes the narrative. New narratives need to be created for 360. It's not simply a case of having a normal story told, sticking up a 360 camera and filming in that way. That's not immersive storytelling. What is immersive storytelling is changing that narrative to let the audience have a personalized experience. 360 immersive storytelling can create empathy and a connection to the story. I wanted to explore this idea last week, so I got a group of students to watch a story about refugees. They watched your typical News at 10 story. And then I got them to watch it again through a virtual reality headset. There was one student who had never experienced 360 before. She put on her headset and she looked around and she couldn't take it off. It was completely transformative for her. When I finally managed to prise the helmet from her, I asked her what it was like. And she said to me that she felt a connection. She understood the story in a way that she hasn't been able to understand it before. She said to me, I could hear them whispering in my ear. I can't forget that. And that's the power of immersive storytelling. It's completely transformative. It's creating empathy. And that's why this technology is being used by decision makers at the UN, for them to feel a connection and an empathy with the peoples whose lives they're making decisions about every day. Now, I keep saying 2016 is the year for VR. It's going to explode. It's thanks to this, a cardboard box. When Google gave out cardboard headsets at a developers conference, they changed the path of virtual reality. They suddenly made this technology accessible. They put it in the hands of everybody. They put it in the hands of anyone, not just tech enthusiasts or those with a few hundreds or even thousands of pounds to spare. If you've got a piece of cardboard lying around at home, you can make one yourself. There's plenty of instructions online to do this. There are great headsets out there, the Rift, the Gear, the Homido one that I've got here, but this suddenly makes it accessible and is transforming how we see stories. There's plenty of people getting in on the act now. 2 weeks ago, the New York Times sent out 1.2 million cardboard headsets to all of its subscribers. They launched an app, the New York Times VR, and now you can watch a 10-minute film called The Displaced. You can walk alongside 3 children who have lost their homes due to war and persecution. You can look at Paris, you can look at the vigils, you can get really close to read the messages of condolences, changing the way that we understand stories. So all of that is great. 360 immersive storytelling, changing how we connect with stories, and that's brilliant. But what I want to talk about now is 360 immersive education. And with this, I get really excited. Imagine a classroom where a history teacher doesn't just have to show pictures of the Colosseum in Rome. A child can simply get a headset, put it on, and go there and experience it for themselves. Or in geography, a group field trip to go and look at volcanoes, looking at the different rock formations and seeing the lava rising through the ground. I was in Boston 2 weeks ago talking about the power and the opportunities for 360 immersive education. There was a group of school children there, between the ages of 14 and 16, and I put headsets on all of them. Some of them decided to go and join the circus. They wanted to fly through the trapeze with the Cirque du Soleil. Others wanted to drive a car. They were trying desperately not to crash, as any first-time driver does. And others went to NASA. They used footage that my students had filmed back in September, and they walked around the space station, getting really close to see the rockets. They took off their headsets, and I asked, what would it be like if all of your lessons were taught in that way? And they said, we'd remember that lesson. And the research backs that up. After 2 weeks, you remember 10% of what you're told. You remember 50% of what you see and read. You remember 90% of what you do. So think how much you're going to remember if you're on a unique, personalized learning journey through a virtual reality headset. Now, there's a school in Banchory, the Hill of Banchory School in Aberdeenshire, and they sent me these images, a whole class using Google Cardboard headsets. The lesson was around 30 minutes long. And I got so excited when I saw them because I thought, wow, they get what I'm trying to do. This is an easy sell. And then I started to worry, because in all the pictures, the children were looking in different directions. And I started to worry about that unique personalized learning experience. And I wondered where the social was. I wondered if you're in a classroom and you're all on this unique personalized learning journey, where is the interaction? How are you engaging? But then I heard about the stories that followed, their learning journey. And they all had so many questions. We all had that standard reaction, wow, awesome, can we have every lesson like this? But they started to talk about the experiences they had. They were looking in all different directions, so they all wanted to know what each other had seen. Did you see that over there? No, I was over there. So many different places. They had questions about every experience they had. They asked each other and they asked their friends. And that's really, really exciting. Now, my school reports always said the same thing. Sarah is a dreamer. I like to think that when I was dreaming, I was thinking about those places that my teacher was telling me about. If I had a virtual reality headset, I could have just put it on and experienced those places for myself. Now, what I'm trying to do with the 360 Immersive Education project is apply a gaming platform. So it's not just about experiencing those places, it's about a real deep learning journey. It's about making decisions. It's about going to different places and really applying a gaming to it so the students learn on every level. They have to make decisions about where they are, where they want to go, who they want to speak to, and what they're going to learn from it. Gaming in education is so important, and when you see the stats, you know why. A student that learns through gaming will often have an 11% higher factual knowledge, 14% higher skills-based knowledge, and they'll retain the information 9% more. And the best thing, they want to keep on learning. Voluntarily, they want to keep going back to those lessons. I want to leave you with one final story. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she has her own cardboard headset. She's covered her cardboard headset in Cinderella stickers, which says a lot about who she is and what she likes. But when she puts on this virtual reality headset, she changes. She's suddenly the dinosaur hunter. She runs around the house chasing dinosaurs, squealing in delight when she spots one flying high above her. And that's the beauty of 360 Immersive Education. It allows you to be anybody in the virtual world, and it allows you to see people in roles that you're not normally used to. And this is really important because it's changing how we think. It's allowing us to challenge those roles the society puts on us. 360 Immersive Education allows us to be anyone in this virtual world. If an 18-year-old boy can develop Oculus Rift in his bedroom and sell it to Facebook for $2 billion, we can be anyone. We can have a 3-year-old dinosaur hunter. That's absolutely fine. Now, there's a story that I want to tell you about a writer, because there's this one barrier in virtual reality that we can't break down. There's a writer who's really, really good. She's amazing. She knows everything there is to know about virtual reality, gaming, and technology. She's really, really good. And she's so good that she's so high in demand and all the magazines want her. That's great. But you don't know she as her, because you know she as a he. Online abuse for female technology writers is on the increase. It's seen simply as a hazard of the job. 1 in 5 female technology writers change their gender online because they get so much abuse for it. 40% of women technology writers are changing their working practices because of this online abuse. And that's not okay. We're thinking about tomorrow starting yesterday, and still we're living in this world where we have this barrier that we cannot break down. It shouldn't make a difference whether Aisha wants to write about technology or Alan does. Aisha knows just as much as Alan. So we need to use this technology to finally break down that barrier once and for all. Anything other than that is not okay. What is okay is this amazing technology that's allowing us to see the world in a different way and challenge all those roles that society thinks we should be in. 360 Immersive Storytelling is helping us to create connections to stories and feel empathy and understand them in a way that's so hard to do when we have a barrier as a screen. 360 Immersive Education is changing how we think. It's changing how we learn. It's changing what we do in a classroom. 360 Virtual Reality is changing how we think, how we act, and how we learn, and that is okay. Thank you.